Essam, turn to you. Do you share the optimism about Saudi that Heather expressed? And if so, why?
I mean, indeed, I do share it, and I'm very optimistic, but I do want to echo some of what Dr. Sabah said, which is the VC market in Saudi Arabia. It didn't really start from nowhere. It's been going on, but on a very, very slow pace since the 90s. Myself, I'm a veteran of the IT industry, so I know what it takes to start off in the IT in the 90s when there was virtually no support. I mean, no means for financing. And I remember during those days, there were angel investors, true investors that really understood the risk in venturing. However, the way the IT and the technology industry was structured was totally different. It was based on, being partners for a big vendor or reseller. What we are encouraging today is innovation, but we don't want innovation to be more or less copying others or emulating others for the same, for the same app. You have delivery apps that everyone is copying the other.
Do you have any examples of original business models that aren't copycats, either of Silicon Valley or for somebody like me coming from an Asian world, the Chinese, which have actually been more innovative, I think, in consumer internet models?
Well, I'll give you an example of early Saudi investors investing in probably the only unicorn in the Middle East, which is Careem. I don't know whether Careem started first or Uber, whoever started first, it doesn't matter. But I remember that STV, which is Saudi Telecom Ventures, was one of the early investors in it. Then you had other Saudi investors. They were very much the early investors in a lot of ventures. Some of them we don't hear about it because they went bust. And some of them, have either been acquired by others. So there are various examples, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or in UAE. I think Saudi, as far as Saudi, is still in a growing stage. I mean, we are more or less most of the entrepreneurs, and it's very important encouraging entrepreneurs to really venture into this type of technology. However, they have to stand out with their own unique technology versus just copying others and trying to emulate whatever success that they have done without the right merits for them to succeed.
There are lots of pools of money. We've heard a lot yesterday about family offices, and you look at all the sovereign wealth funds. Is it unrealistic to expect all these pools of money to go into VC?
You asked me a question, am I optimistic? I am optimistic. I see a major transformation, at least in Saudi Arabia, with Munshaat. Under Munshaat, you have SVC, which is Saudi Venture Capital, which the CEO is a very good friend, and also he is a veteran of the IT industry. And what this is doing, it's basically accelerating the fundraising process. Okay, I think it is the responsibility of the emerging fund managers to really work the whole investment spectrum of really structuring the deal, generating the deals, and more or less building a very good exit story, which is very challenging. I mean, we're going through this euphoria of someone would describe it as a bubble, but I'll probably contradict them as if it is a bubble or not. But what I see is the government stepping in and really pushing to build this ecosystem in Saudi Arabia. Why? I think it's proving that Saudi Arabia has a very, very promising future. I mean, there are projections of 40% growth. I mean, just in 2018, the VC investment was almost $50 million. they are expecting that by 2025 it's going to reach $500 million. In Saudi Arabia, I believe that could happen.
Find that the VC is not just the guy who thinks about the capital structure, but needs to get involved in the operations? Or do you find that the companies have that expertise and experience?
Well, it depends, really. I mean, whether we're talking about actual structured VC funds with a very added value that they can add value to these investments, or whether we're talking about angel investors or just normal investors.
Well, I mean the professional VCs,
Oh,
but make it quick because we're running out of time.
The professionals, yes, absolutely. I think they play a very strategic role because most of these entrepreneurs, they are more centered around the actual technologies. So